Tensions high in the Middle East after the U.S. shoots down an Iranian drone approaching an aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea. Just hours later, the Pentagon says Iranian armed boats threatened a U.S. tanker, but thankfully, U.S. air defenses were able to de-escalate the situation.
And all of this comes just days before planned nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran. Lucas Tomlinson joins us live in Washington with all the details. Hi, Lucas.
Well, good early morning, Carly and Todd. It's the first air-to-air kill for the Navy's F-35C, launched from the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln and ordered to shoot down that Iranian drone flying too close to the strike group in the Arabian Sea. In the past, Iran has used drone footage of U.S. Navy ships for propaganda purposes. The incident took place, as you mentioned, hours after Iranian gunboats harassed a U.S. oil tanker transiting the Strait of Hormuz. A pair of Vipers, U.S. Air Force F-16s, along with the guided missile destroyer USS McFall, escorted the tanker out of harm's way. Despite the incidents, President Trump says talks will continue with Iran.
They are negotiating. They'd like to do something, and we'll see if something is going to be done. They had a chance to do something a while ago, and it didn't work out, and we did Midnight Hammer. I don't think they want that happening again, but they would like to negotiate. We are negotiating with them right now, yes.
Spokesman for the U.S. Military Central Command says an F-35 Charlie fighter jet from Abraham Lincoln shot down an Iranian drone in self-defense and to protect the aircraft carrier and personnel on board. No American service members were harmed during the incident, and no U.S. equipment was damaged. Continued Iranian harassment and threats in international waters and airspace will not be tolerated. Now, some think the Iranians only want to focus on the nuclear issue and not discuss ballistic missiles or proxies. That's why Iran is now saying they only want to talk with the U.S. and not in Turkey, but Oman. Trump's former Secretary of State and CIA Director Mike Pompeo told an Israeli news outlet there's no chance for a deal with Iran. Carly, Todd?
All right, Lucas Tomlinson live for us in Washington. Lucas, thank you. Let's bring in former NSC Chief of Staff under President Trump, Alex Gray. Alex, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So what do you make of this military move against the United States by Iran, and will this impact negotiations?
Well, thanks, Carly. I do think that the Iranians are doing their normal playbook, right, which is say they want to have negotiations, do everything possible to obfuscate and to avoid making real concessions. Like Lucas just said, they've already made clear they're not going to compromise on missiles. They're not going to compromise on terrorist proxies. The things that most concern our core U.S. interests in the region. I think what's clear is the Iranians are going to continue to be bad actors. The regime has very little interest in compromise, and President Trump has put the U.S. in a great position to give us leverage, whatever happens in the negotiations, to put forward our core interests in the region, which, like I said, Carly, are stopping the missile program, stopping the nuclear program, and keeping the proxies from reconstituting.
Yeah, so do you believe that if these negotiations go nowhere, that the only other course of action would be military action? And if so, what would the best course be to take?
So I think that the president, in my view, is likely going to have to do something military, but it doesn't necessarily mean regime change. You know, there's been no American president and really no American leader of the last generation who's been more ahead of his time on the dangers of regime change. But President Trump understands that the biggest tool an American president has is their credibility. And we have to maintain our credibility for deterrence, not just here, but globally. Everything we do everywhere is watched by China, by Russia, by others. So the president is going to have to make a decision soon about whether we're going to have to target Iranian energy platforms, Iranian naval vessels, Iranian IRGC targets. There's a lot he can do short of regime change that will keep his deterrence options and will show American credibility.
Yeah, you know, Alex, there are also reports that Iran is at its weakest position since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, and not just Iran itself, its proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah. So there are those who look at that and think that there could be no better time than now for regime change. What do you think about that logic?
Look, I think that the Iranian regime is very weak. It's certainly weaker than a lot of our Obama administration friends certainly have been pushing for the last 15 years, that Iran is some sort of global power. That's obviously nonsense. But the reality is the United States has other interests outside of getting involved in another complicated Middle Eastern regime change. And so I would say, our biggest interests right now are maintaining stability in Asia, particularly with China, and our hemisphere, the Western Hemisphere. Think Greenland, think Panama, think Cuba, think narco trafficking, Venezuela. All the areas where the president has had such extraordinary success in just the last month, I think those are much larger American interests than getting involved in another significant regime change effort.
Understood. Well, it is a debate that we're having on TV and certainly a lot of consideration to be made at the White House as well. Former NSC Chief of Staff under President Trump, Alex Gray, we thank you for your time and your expertise and insight as always.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.